Yo, what is going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new locals feature match. Here we are in the fourth and final round of my locals that took place on August 27th. We have a little mirror match. I know everybody's favorite mirror match to watch, the Spright mirror. It's definitely not like watching paint dry, but we can get through it. We can see how these two decks interact with each other when facing each other. So we're going to see Spright lead here on the right, normal summoning the swap, dumping the Ronin, that activating starter, go for blue, and then we're going to see blue go ahead and search, and that will grab Jet as it typically does. We'll see him summon Jet, and then we're going to see his opponent actually fire the Imperm on the Jet, probably to deny him access of Smashers, as Smashers is a pretty strong card. Yeah, just who would have thought a non-target quick play banish would be pretty strong, so... especially if his hand is weak, where one banish might get a level 2 off field where he can't afford that. Might be pretty worthwhile to actually go ahead and imperm the Jet over, you know, a more like desirable target, like most people would think. Would be hitting like Gigantic or, you know, hitting the Elf, right? But deciding to hold that imperm specifically for the Jet. But now the Gigantic, of course, will resolve, and we will see what he is going to special summon out of the deck. Imagine it would probably be red here since he can get access to Toad by linking off the swap and the Gigantic for Elf. The only thing I think this plays into is... I don't really think it plays into DD Crow because he could negate with the red, but he does lose his Elf, which is unfortunate. I mean, DD Crow just tends to be strong against this deck. Like, DD Crow is like such a flexible hand trap this format. Really, really nice. Especially if you have your ultimate rare copies. But we're going to see him go ahead and get into the Toad. We're going to see him set a back row. Ending on Toad, Red, and Elf with one set. We'll see if he hard drew the Smashers. I do see Triple Tactics Talent in hand as well for our Spright player on the right. And I think the other card is Pixies as well. So, yeah. Didn't play into Talents there. Didn't really look like there was a way that he could since Imperm was the only form of interaction. So, kind of just works out. That's why Imperm is just so crazy sometimes. Like, there's almost nothing feels like just as bad as like getting Impermed while you have Talents in hand. This always feels bad. So we're gonna see him normal summon Nibble Beaver. He'll let it resolve, and then we were gonna see a Super Poly, but we're not gonna Super Poly. Giving away some unnecessary information there, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't really, like, see why you don't Super Poly there. You get both Nimble Beavers off the field. If he has starter, you negate. But it does make sense as to why he didn't Super Poly there. It's because he can't go for Garura, because Garura requires two monsters of the same type and attributes, but different names. Did not realize that at first, but now that makes much more sense looking forward. So we will see the blue resolve going ahead and searching Jet. So that's another body later to grab a Smashers or a Starters. And now we're going to see him overlay into Gigantic. So, you know, we technically shouldn't know there's a Super Poly back there, but now this is kind of like use it or lose it. Since once the Gigantic resolves, he'll not be able to make things like Mudragon or Garura from this point on. So, Super Poly probably not going to find too much value here, unfortunately, for our Spright player on the right. And now that I think of it, it could be funny to go for that level 2 normal fusion against the deck if people play Diva. But I think that might take 2 tuners. So maybe if like people are playing Diva, you could take both their Divas and go for that, if I'm thinking that's even what its fusion materials are. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I want to say that was a bit of a bag fumble there, not using the Super Poly, maybe second guessing himself there. But now, if he doesn't use the Super Poly now, you know, it's going to force him to either use red, or he's going to have to go ahead and negate with Toad. So Gigantic will go ahead and indeed resolve, turning off the Super Poly. And we're going to see him go ahead and special summon Swap Frog. And Swap Frog effect. We'll see if he lets this go through. He does. This is going to go ahead and dump Ronin Totem, most likely. There it is. Still has a copy of Chalice in hand. The Jet is also still in hand, I believe. And the other card, I can't necessarily tell what it is. Also could force the battle phase here now if he wants. The Gigantic can contest the Elf. And it looks like that's what we are seeing here. It looks like he might have attempted to enter the battle phase. And still in main, we're going to see the Elf activate its effect to bring back the blue. And go ahead and grab Jet for follow-up. So we know that he has Jet, Pixies, and one other card in the hand for our Spright player on the right. And it looks like he will not continue to go into the battle phase now, because there really is no need to. Now it's just one Toad negate, so he will special summon Jet. And he will attempt effect of Jet to go ahead and search. And he's going to go ahead and attempt to negate with Toad. And the other card was Econ. So Econ will be chained to the Toad, tributing off the Jet, so he will not get to steal it. And allow him to take an opponent's monster until the end of the turn. He'll go ahead and take the red. So it's almost like he never had his Jet negated, I guess. Like, I mean, sure, he loses out in the Surge of Smashers, but like, at this point, you know, it's not too big of a deal. And he'll use his own red to negate his Toad graveyard effect to add back the swap. You know, giving him less cards to work with on the follow-up. So, he thought he lost a body, but he gets a body back, and, you know, it works especially well here in the mirror match. The fact that he can take a red and now use it for link fodder for a elf of his own. And it looks like that's what he will do, getting rid of the elf and the beaver, going for Iria the Water Charmer Gentle and taking his opponent's Totally Awesome. And that's pretty strong too. Now he just needs a way to establish a Toad of his own, which is definitely going to be pretty easy to do since you can just link off that Iria and that Swap Frog, go into Elf, Elf bring back the swap, and then swap effect to dump another swap, and then you have access to double Toad Gigantic Elf, and that sounds like a pretty winning position if you ask me. Yeah, I feel like this game could have gone a lot different had he just led Super Poly, unless I'm missing something, which I really hope I'm not, because I'm going to make myself sound like a fool. But, you know, that happens from time to time, so I'm not really too concerned. So he will go ahead and slap the Ronin and the swap on top of each other, get the Totally Awesome. And he has not gone to the battle phase. He attempted to go to the battle phase, but, you know, there was a chain to activate in the battle phase. Or before he left, so never actually went in the battle. So we're going to not see a second battle phase, a regular battle phase here, attacking over the blue. And then we're going to see him attempt to attack over the elf. We're going to see Pixies to attempt to boost it up to 2,400. And you got to clear the elf. So he will negate using his own Toad, importantly, not his opponent's Toad. You don't want to give him that back yet if you can't, if you don't have to. So that will all go through. And unless he already added back off the swap, waiting to find out if he will use that effect. I think they're discussing something between themselves currently. Not sure what it could be. This is also where I wish I was uploading duels with just no commentary, just so you guys can hear the raw audio and what's going on. But we're going to see him just continue into the battle phase, clear everything. After having negated the Pixies effect, he'll be able to clear that. His opponent will go ahead and set one and pass turn. Super Poly still in the back line, but right now there's currently nothing to Super Poly. So we're going to see his opponent lead with Dark Ruler. That is going to trade pretty well here. We'll see him go ahead and activate Swap for Ronin. Special summon the Jet that we know he added last turn off the blue when he had to use that elf effect. Because the opponent did try to force the battle phase and forcing the elf. And the Jet will go ahead and resolve to add a copy of Starter. And then he'll activate Starter. This will resolve. Go ahead and special summoning another copy of blue. And then blue effect to go ahead and search. And we know that one red is out of the deck, so he will go ahead and get Carrot now. Maybe trying to make a read. Well, we know, I mean, he could have Smashers, but the Jet was negated. So the back row, as far as his opponent concerned, could be Smashers, but also could be anything else. So we're going to see his opponent Ixies into the Gigantic. Gigantic effect will go ahead and resolve here. And I'm not sure if there is one swap left in the deck, so he will go for swap. Making sure they keep their zones in line. And he was looking to go for the swap. Maybe now having a second guess. I know some builds do play 2 red. That could also have been an option, but opting just to go for that swap. The third and final copy. Checking the opponent's graveyard. And there is always a Zeus play on the table. It's always one thing you do have to kind of like keep in the back of your head when playing against this deck. It's a very Ixies heavy deck, and with that comes easy accessibility to Zeus. So we're going to see him go for the Sky Cavalry, and he will attempt to go Battle Phase. But I'm not really sure how much this Zeus will do, especially going into a board with Toad. Could also have access to double Toad. So we'll see him go Battle Phase, attack into the swap, or the Totally Awesome. It'll protect itself, and then it'll get Chaliced on the effect to bounce. And that is happening in Damage Step. You can Damage Step Chalice because it does modify attack and defense. So he will still clear the elf with the Gigantic and then go into a elf of his own. Well, I guess Zeus was never on the table either, because he was locked via starter. So I'm not sure why necessarily even go for a Sky Cavalry there, to be totally honest. But we're going to see him pass turn, and then we're going to see him go for the Super Poly now. I was going to say, is he holding it for the next match? But using it now, getting some value out of it, going for the Garura. I was also kind of wondering why the Spright player on the left never used his elf to bring back his Toad at any point during that. Maybe trying to play around. Oh, it was Dark Ruler. Duh. Am I kidding? It was Dark Ruler. Completely forgetting about that. So yeah, I guess the Zeus. Well, Zeus technically still was never on the table, but you have to get rid of the Toad somehow, and bouncing back his own Toad to his extra deck would have been good. Now that makes more sense. Duh, Dark Ruler. All right, things like reality was starting to like not make a ton of sense, but now it does. So yeah, getting access, back to his own Toad would have been kind of nice, because he could have gone into Elf and brought back another body if he left his swap on field, and then overlaid for that Toad, that same Toad again. But we will see him go into the Elf, and then he's going to negate, and then his opponent is going to go into normal summon here. And that's going to be a swap. Swap is going to get banished for the Ronin. And then, unless he plays a second Toad, he cannot go into another one. But he will go ahead and link into another Elf. And then Elf will bring back the blue, and then blue effect to go ahead and grab Pixies. And they'll overlay into Daigusto Phoenix, and I think that is going to be game right there with the Daigusto Phoenix. A Daigusto Phoenix OTK, first time I've seen it. So here we are into game 2, and it looks like our Spright player on the left has opened up double Light Stage, red, and 2 other spells. One looks to be triple tack. And then we're going to see our Spright player on the right here lead with the Diva, into Pixies, then going into Gigantic. Gigantic will summon out the swap. Swapped up Ronin, kind of standard Spright plays here. Should end on like the standard Spright board. I think it is double Talons. It looks like a classic dueling. I don't know. It's Dark Ruler. Okay, so the hand on the left is Dark Ruler, Talents, double Light Stage, red. And I think I did see an anti-spell. Yeah, there's definitely an anti-spell in the back line from our Spright player on the right, and that is probably going to be just a game. He did draw blue for turn. That's a pretty good draw. So anti-spell is going to turn off over 50% of his hand, which is kind of insane. Only having 2 cards left to work with now. Into Toad. Technically double Toad too, since he will have to commit a body to the field to be able to play. He'll have to normal the red, and then spec the blue. And then blue effect will probably get negated. He does have Super Poly again, so he will Super Poly. Pitching a second anti-spell, getting rid of his own elf and the red. And he'll summon Garura. And gonna go ahead and scoop it up there. So, end to a game 3. Quick shout out to Imperium Duelists, guys. Check them out at the link below. Don't forget to use my discount code WinnerKillStunnOff. And if you guys are buying anything on TCG Player, don't forget to use my affiliate link as well in the description of all my videos. Game 3, we're going to see our Spright player on the left lead with the swap, pitching a water, bringing out the Ronin after banishing the swap, going for a very early Toad here, special summoning blue effect to go ahead and search a Spright monster. And we'll see him add jet effect to go ahead and search. We do see Ash and Smashers already in hand, and his opponent is going to Ash the jet, hoping to keep him off Smashers, but it's already in hand, and sometimes it just be like that. It does keep him off starter. You know, when they get access to starter after, like if they can do full combo without starter, that is pretty strong because it helps to beat Dark Ruler. Because, you know, if you do commit a red to the field, you do commit a carrot, like one or the other, usually your starter can get you access to at least another interruption post Dark Ruler. It's not the best, but it's still something. So we're going to see him go for Elf. Elf bring back the red, setting Call By, setting Smashers with Toad. And yeah, pretty standard end board there. I see 2 copies of Ultimate Slayer. I think that was 2. I don't want to say it was 3. It's definitely 2. But we're going to see Ultimate Slayer targeting Elf, dumping Trouble Sunny. And we're going to see Called By in response. That'll banish the Trouble Sunny. And in response to the Call By, we're going to see Elf bring back Jet. Jet will search the starter. So playing around that there pretty well. The Call By helping out a ton. And now we're going to see a second Ultimate Slayer. He'll dump his own Toad, bounces his opponent's Toad back, and then his Toad will recycle its own Toad, you know, itself back to the extra deck. Kind of a nice interaction there. Double Ultimate Slayer coming in so clutch there, and a copy of Triple Tactics Talents too. Like, really insane opening. Also, not to mention at this point in the video, I mean, in real time for them, time is getting very close to being called. So it's kind of coming down to the wire. So we're going to see him take his opponent's red. That's going to allow him to summon his own blue. Blue will search the jet. Jet will search the starter. Startering to go ahead and summon out a carrot. The battle phase will be a very valuable tool here, as you do want to try to pile on damage if possible here. So the Gigantic, we're waiting to see if the Gigantic will resolve. We know the Smashers is set. He could try to Smashers, right? But the carrot is on field protecting, so the Gigantic will resolve, summoning Swap Frog as it typically does. Swap Frog effect will go ahead and dump Ronin. And then we're going to see him link off the Gigantic and the Swap for a copy of Elf. Elf effect will go ahead and bring back the Swap. Swap Frog effect again, dumping another Swap, and then Swap for Ronin. And we'll see him establish the Toad. He might just honestly be holding this Smashers for his next turn. And now has the option to make possibly another rank 2. But I feel like you necessarily don't have to do that. So we're just going to see him go to battle phase here. Turning the red that he took into attack position. He'll attack with the red first. I know it's confusing. I had to go back and check the audio. Attack with the red first, and then attacked with the Toad and the Elf, dropping his opponent down to 4,400. If he would have summoned that carrot in defense, he would have taken another 1,000. And then we're going to see him just go into a Sky Cavalry. Interesting choice for just going to Sky Cavalry there. Maybe Djinn Buster would have been maybe a little better. But his opponent has Talents Starter. He'll activate Starter. He'll negate the Starter. with the Toad, and he'll take it. And now has access to Triple T. And the elf is kind of offline right now because his opponent doesn't control any monsters. At least he can't bring back a rank or link 2. So have to get back Jet. He is going to take his opponent's elf. And that'll search a Pixies. Act as kind of like a nice little battle phase trap, battle phase hand trap. But now he has his opponent's elf to be able to bring back anything in his graveyard. And I'm trying to think if this is where, like, possibly making Djinn Buster over Sky Cavalry just makes more sense. Because if he Djinn Buster tries to negate the elf, I mean, he has Smashers, but I don't think Smasher's not going to stop Djinn Buster from negating. Unless there's some specific requirement that Djinn Buster has to meet in order to negate. But we're going to see him resolve blue. Blue will go search. Now resolving Gigantic. Yeah, I just don't think making the Sky Cavalry was necessarily the way. Although it, you know, will make things maybe a little harder to deal with in the battle phase. As the only other thing I can see in the upside is he has to worry about Sky Cavalry plus the Pixies that is known in hand. So that might make things a little bit more difficult, but... So we'll see him get swap, and then swap for Ronin. And he does need to deal some damage here. That is the biggest thing that needs to be done here. So he's got to clear the field. He's got to clear the Sky Cavalry. So we're going to see him use Onibimaru to go ahead and banish the Sky Cavalry. And that blue is still on field. So he could go for a direct shot with that 3200 Gigantic. And since his opponent is down by 1,000 from that starter for Carrot the previous turn, that would put him down 1,000 life points below his own. So he will use Smashers, banning a Gigantic from grave, banishing the Onibimaru, and the blue attacking for 3,200, dropping his opponent down to 38 to his 44. And that is going to be time in the round, and the Spright deck on the left there winning in a pretty tight game. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. And last but not least, a huge shout out goes to our Divine level channel members who are Pony Start, Cadillacs84, Justin Lamb, HE8 Cyber, and Mango. Thank you guys so much as always for extremely kind and generous support of the channel.